Thank you everyone for joining. Today we'll talk about layouting a process, so how the process looks like, how the boxes are positioned on the canvas, and why it's important and what messages does it convey when you're mapping processes. I think this is a very good clear advantage of the UPN notation in comparison to swim lanes in particular, because we really have a freedom of the way we can make our process looks, where what's something that I usually find very, very constraining with swim lanes is how the structure of the swim lanes, they constrain the look and feel of the process, and it's very hard to tell a story. When we are talking about what to show on a process, we also need to think about what to not show on the process. Not everything is valuable for everyone, and Skore is a great way to has many options to decide what to show and what to not show. The session today is mostly for process editors. You will be the one creating the layouts, and a good layout, a good process should be visible to. It shouldn't be noteworthy that it's a bad layout. Basically, a good layout is invisible. You forget about it. It's like the IT department of your company. You forget it exists until you have a problem. So what we'll have a look at is the shape or form of a process. We'll look at using levels, using the detailed view in Skore, forms visibility. I'll show you a couple of keyboard shortcuts to make your process look very good easily. And we'll continue this list of do's and don'ts for creating a good looking process. So I have a first series of example here. What I wanted to show here is that just the way the boxes are laid out, are put on the canvas, tells a story. For example, here I see that I have, okay, it obviously starts from the left. That's very easy to identify. It goes to a box, and then there's several outputs, several routes that can be followed, either in parallel, depending on the text here. You will see if you need to do all three routes or just one of them. But very easily we see that there's some sort of decision or some sort of crossroads, and that we need to follow one or more routes at the same time. So this is also how we represent decisions in Skore. Typically is having one box, what is the decision to make, and then the several outcomes on the right hand side. So that's here, even without a content, I read that there is one process and other things. So I will show you another example. That's another one where there's no content, but I see, okay, there's several inputs that are coming from probably different sources, and then it all goes into following a common process for different options that have been triggered. So we have that, for example, when we collect data. So we may collect data from user feedback, we may collect data from an automated system, we may collect data from a survey that has been sent, or that looks typically like a support service desk process where we have users are calling, or they're sending an email, or they're posting on the forum, or they are, I don't know, doing something else, sending a letter via the mail, and then we follow a common process for everyone. So again, no content here, but we see visually that there's the kind of story. I have another one here. Here, that's something usually I try to discourage people, but again, that's very visible. There is a process and there's some sort of escape routes, and when something typically fails, when something fails, we go back to the start. So again, no content, there's nothing that tells me, but this is sort of what we read. Using the sort of the positive scenario, the normal outcome on the right hand side, and the exceptions on the bottom, towards the bottom, is also one of the IDF0 standards that Skore, or the UPN notation is inspired from. UPN is Universal Process Notation, and this is the name of the notation we use. The main alternative to UPN in the business world is BPMN. You should have heard about it, the Business Process Management Notation, with all these shapes and form, UPN being much more simple. So my point is that just the way your processes and your boxes are laid out tells the story. And you see that in these three scenarios I showed you, I just made an effort that boxes are aligned and well spaced out, and I leave a lot of free space. To me, the process when you do fit all content on screen in Skore, or if you do the page view, which is just the next button that zooms at one page, the process should be readable. There should be, you can add boxes. Skore allows you to have an infinite canvas, but if you want to keep it readable, something like a dozen boxes per diagram, per level is good. Okay, then there will always be a context where you need more. That's fine. You can scroll in all directions, which is more than okay. So trying to make fit on one screen and then everything aligns. You know, if I take the same process here and my boxes are not aligned, even by 1 pixel, even just having the arrow here that is not pointing exactly in the ends, even that looks messy already. All right, that's very easy to make a process look messy, and in Skore that's also very easy to make it tidy. So if I select the boxes, we have a couple of drop-in sessions recording on the YouTube channel. Here I selected all my box and I press the T key like tops, and it will align all the boxes at the top. And then I press H like horizontal, and it will space them out horizontally. So we have a lot of shortcuts that are here in the arrange menu. So align top is T, and align centers, no, sorry, horizontal, distribute horizontal was H. So we have loads of keyboard shortcuts that help you creating these layouts very easily. Let's say here I actually I'd like this to be aligned, so I press C, and then the box will directly be perfectly aligned at the middle below it. So once you have this habit of using these keyboard shortcuts, it's extremely fast to make a process look very good. In a workshop, typically you will have downtime. So you as a process editor, process mapper, maybe the participants have a conversation on the side about a topic or something, and then you can use this like 2 minutes where your input is not necessary to just quickly lay out a process and make it look good. Once you master all these keyboard shortcuts that we see in the arrange menu, this becomes a second nature. So that were content without just the boxes. So now typical layouts, this view from starting from the top left and then from mapping from left to right, top to bottom, is the most readable we find, the most readable way of mapping a process. It's just a natural way in which we are mapping processes in the Western culture. What we see sometimes, but I'm really not a big fan, we see it like that. I call it the snake view. So it starts here at the top left and then it navigates in that, but I don't find that readable at all. We see that I think it's one of the PowerPoint layouts to do snake processes. So maybe people try to recreate that in Skore, but I don't find it readable at all personally. Another alternative that I have seen, mapping like that vertically, a bit like a Japanese book. Also that may look good in some situation, but very often it's not natural. And also the other thing is when you do these layouts like that vertically as a snake or horizontally, it's not really the way that Skore helps you doing. Skore, because of the keyboard shortcuts, it maps very well from left to right. So here to create the next box, I'm just pressing space and it automatically creates the next box. So not only it's a bit less readable, but it's also going a bit against the keyboard shortcuts that make Skore a very tool that is very fast to map processes. Okay, so I've seen processes like that, all right, with content, not empty boxes, with process. So to me, when I see that, is like, guys, just take 2 minutes to align your process. Make sure that all the arrows are coming into your box. If you decided that they come from the left, just take 2 seconds to just align everything, and it's very easy. Or maybe it was a noteworthy comment. Okay, and about comment, the reason I've added all these boxes in different colors is I see that a lot. So when you're in a workshop in the heat of the thing, and then you decided, okay, we use the blue sticky notes to capture, I don't know, comments that needs to be reviewed with the team, and yellow comments for things that we need to do with the finance director, or improvement ideas in yellow, and then just comments, generic comments in blue, things like that. So it's very convenient to be able to use different sticky notes, especially in the canvas. The sticky notes, they stick to the canvas, they are visible. If you had a conversation about, all right, remember this edge case of selling to Switzerland, they have a different case, they have different tax thing, so we need to take that into account. So it's very good to write it, consider tax thing in Switzerland. Okay, visible on the canvas. I would say try to, and the color code is blue for general comments, maybe yellow for the to-dos items. Clean that up before releasing your process, before showing it to the world, especially that if you're using a color code, chances are that you will forget in a week what was blue and what was yellow. So be careful unless you create a little, and I've seen that a lot, you create a little legend on the top left, but again, on the bottom left. So general comments in blue, and then you can have to-do items in yellow. Okay, so you need to keep track of what color is what color, but that's again overhead basically, and that's one more thing to think about, the color to be consistent. So once you finish the workshop, you have all your notes, just clear everything up. The same, don't use, my recommendation is to not use color codes on the boxes. You can, with the style sheet, you can customize the border of the boxes, you can make them dashed and stuff like that. So try and avoid all these things that are sort of implicit communication of a meaning that are very often very hard to convey to a wider audience. And chances are that you will also forget yourself what they mean and then miss one box, so you create inconsistencies because they need to be maintained manually. So it's all very, very complex. And they will stand out. That's the other. Let me go into another one that looks better. But if I have one box that is, so I will just do dashed. Okay, I have one box in the middle that is dashed. Then that's the only thing I see now. It's, why is this box dashed? Now, what does that mean? What's the meaning that the process mapper wanted to convey here? Okay, that's because the box is optional. Okay, but if it's optional, just write it, I don't know, make thing, and then write optional for USA. I don't know, something like that. Make it very explicit. Use words rather than implicit design tools to show these meanings. Okay, so that's on the layouts. Then I think something that is amazing in Skore is the level of details conversation we have all the time. What is the right level of details to map process? The right level is the one that solves your problems. Okay, so here you see a process that defines the yearly strategy. We can imagine this is a at least 2 weeks process, maybe with an offsite and a lot of people on doing post-its on the wall and stuff like that. And then the next activity is send PowerPoint to managers with instructions on how to provide feedback. While mapping the process, this is perfectly fine. You know, it solves your problem, and then provide feedback within 2 weeks, and then summarize and share feedback with other directors and the CEO, etc., etc. So we went from something very, very high level to very sort of low level details of collecting feedback. And this is totally fine while you're mapping a process, because you just capture what people say, you hear them, you listen, and this is actually the problem. Maybe in this case, that the collecting feedback from the middle management about the strategy is the problem in our team. But you know, when you share that, it's not very coherent, right? There's high level stuff and low level stuff. So I would sort of like refactor this process. I would at the end of a workshop or during a break, I would quickly re-engineer that so that it looks a bit more coherent. I will show you, I've done the work already. So I would say define yearly strategy, and then review with team managers, and then doing a roadshow for all the stakeholders. All right, three high-level activities that have a sort of more or less equal level of importance, or they seem more coherent told like that. It tells a story that stays at the same level of details. And then in Skore, you're using the detailed view to map the lower level of details, where you send the PowerPoint, you wait for the feedback, you collect it, you share it again with the directors, etc., etc. You can have that as a lower level process, or even if it's getting too big, as a completely separate process that you link to. And then the roadshow by itself may have a couple of lower level activities to define the audience, invite, is it worth traveling to the if it's a big site in another country, big head office, you may want to map all that. So my point is here, while you are mapping a process, you will very often have things of different granularity of detail, things high level, things low level, that's fine. But I would encourage the people you're doing the workshop with to see the big picture, because explaining this process is much easier. Do a yearly strategy as only the directors, then let's say a review with manager would be maybe the director, they need to go to their teams. They need to go to their team and share that with their managers. And then there's a roadshow happening. You know, it tells a story nice and simple, and then someone will ask, okay, tell me more about how the review happens. Then you drill down. So you have a first conversation where you review the full thing end to end, and then you can drill down here or in another process, depending on what your audience is asking. At the same time, you're keeping, remember what I was suggesting earlier, having a dozen boxes maximum per level. On the other hand, being able to have lower levels helps you keeping each level palatable, you know, easier to digest, easier to read, to grasp, to understand how it works. So that's really the beauty of the lower levels in Skore. Each layer has its own audience, its own story, and then when you drill down, it's almost like a standalone story that you're telling. You're not mixing two different things, and I find that hugely powerful. That's something that you just can't do with swim lanes. You will really struggle. Now, in terms of showing the data, what to show in the process. So I alluded already a little bit to the notes. There's the content you capture during a workshop with all sorts of notes. It's a bit messy, and then you tidy up over time. That's very good. In Skore, there's a lot of tools to have analytics. Typically using the custom fields, you will capture improvement opportunity. You will have loads of custom fields in my workspace. Automation opportunity, competency, compliance, pain points, questions. Should clean it up, but you can capture all sorts of data in Skore, and also attachments, right? So define yearly strategy. Maybe there is a template, so you can point to a URL in a SharePoint document, or the document maybe in the documents that we just released in Skore. I would just pick one randomly. So okay, we have links. So you can enrich all your boxes with documents, attachments, and custom fields, which was what I was need to show you in the first place. But here I've captured my improvement opportunity for grouping technology. And there will be a point where you're like, okay, having that in a custom field is great because it's hidden in an attachment, is very structured, so very easy to report on. But which boxes did I capture my improvement opportunities? So I will show you two ways. The first one is the forms visibility here. So I just look at for my custom fields, improvement opportunity here. So when I toggle that on, it will show which boxes. Actually, there's only one. I will just have another one just for the example. Improvement opportunity, and this time we'll do a people, needs, training for newcomers. Okay, so it shows directly on the canvas. Keep in mind that the forms visibility is just for you. Okay, so that's only you. If someone else opens this process, they will not see that. So if you want really to make these custom fields or anything sticky, so that everyone can see that when they open the process, you need to go back at the attachment level, my custom fields where I have the technology improvement opportunity captured. And here you have the little eye. And when you make it visible here, it sticks. So now anyone opening the process will see that there is a custom fields improvement opportunity technology captured on this process. So with this tool, the forms visibility and the visibility of an attachment on the box directly, you can also decide what level of information you make visible. Maybe for a little while, showing the improvement opportunities on the boxes, let's put it on this box as well, is relevant for my audience, for the piece of work I'm doing. But later on, you can also decide to hide them and to keep your canvas clear and easy to read, and sometimes the less is more. The less information you have, the more people will understand the big picture and start asking the right question instead of focusing on the details. So these two features are great. Remember, at the attachment level, it's for everyone, so it will be saved like that. When you do it at the forms visibility level, it will be just for you. It's written at the top. This only applies to you. So so attachments, custom fields are great to capture extra level of details. For example, roadshow, we're not ready yet to do a drill down. So just starting by adding a text attachments. Okay, so attachments are again a great way to just capture quickly information without polluting too much the canvas, and keeping things simple, clear, and readable. So to wrap it up, the way your process is presented is important, because this is what people will first see, even before seeing the content, before reading actually the boxes of the text. They will actually see the shape, how it looks. If it's all aligned, it will obviously look nicer, but also just by the shape of it, it will tell a story already. You have a lot of keyboard shortcuts in Skore to align these things very easily. And last, think about the different tools we have, like the detailed view, the attachments, the forms visibility, that helps you to show or hide different options for different people. My last point is that if you're working in a bigger team of process editors, it's worth having often discussions about these layouts, because you want some sort of consistency. So when you're reviewing processes, let's say you're an internal project management office, and you're mapping processes for different teams, it's good that everyone maps in a sort of a consistent way, by using the same way of mapping and laying out the information, so that when people open a process, they don't know, why does this one doesn't look like the other one? It should be a non-topic. Processes should look very similar, so people can drill down and focus on the contents, and not, why is this box blue? Why are they using rounded corner in one process and square corner in another one? Why the starting point is on the top left in one process and in the middle of the page for another process? You should have some sort of common way of mapping your process that will sometimes be established by the first person starting to use Skore in the company, but that's fine. Cool, awesome. Thank you everyone for joining. I hope you learned something today, and all these drop-ins can be found on the YouTube channel, this one and the ones we run in the last couple of years. Everything is online or live on every Wednesday evening.